A husband, a father, a brother in blue. A final farewell today for Detective James Skirnovitz.
God knew we needed a hero, and he gave us one.
Family, friends, and fellow officers gather to remember a man who lost his life to violence, but left his mark on the city and its police force.
Badge number 2249 will always live in the hearts and minds of the people in this city and his brothers and sisters in the Division of Police.
Thank you so much for being with us on this difficult Friday in Northeast Ohio. I'm Jay Crawford.
And I'm Betsy Kling. Our top story today is the funeral of Cleveland Police Detective James Skirnovitz, who was killed in the line of duty last Thursday. We have team coverage of today's emotional events. Brandon Simmons shares some of the most powerful sights and sounds. But first, Mark Namick takes us inside today's services at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, where those who knew Skirnovitz best paid tribute.
They came by the hundreds, first responders from Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and beyond, dressed in ceremonial uniforms reserved for the best and worst of times in their careers.
God knew we needed a hero that was upstanding and was, as Chief Williams describes Skirn, a policeman's policeman.
The family and friends of James Skirnovitz, wearing their grief and pride for a man simply known as Skirn, dedicated to arresting violent criminals but taken by violence, shot to death while working undercover. His widow's words read by others, her anger eased by the fellowship of officers.
My healing began the moment I entered the doors at Metro and saw the halls already lined by his CPD brothers and sisters, first responders, and hospital staff, knowing they were witnessing the most evil moment each of us hoped never to experience.
He was a prankster who loved heavy metal music, softball, and watching sports, and a humble and loving father, one who never wanted to be held up for his dedication. Serving his community was enough.
At home, he was just dad. No frills, no fanfare, no stress. So here we are today, celebrating the hero he never wanted to be. But I always knew he was.
U.S. Attorney General William Barr was also here today. He met Skirnovitz just weeks ago on a federal task force, and he likened his work and his courage to those that died 19 years ago on 9/11. And he said that he will be remembered for that dedication that goes on often unnoticed. Betsy?
Our first responders are certainly incredible people, and we do thank them so much. And thank you, Mark, for the report. Jay?
Betsy, it's not just fellow officers and family who are mourning today. It's an entire community, many of them lining the streets to show their support. Brandon Simmons shares why they feel it was so important to pay their respects to Detective Skirnovitz.
It's amazing. It's overwhelming. It's just amazing the support that the police get and that they should get.
As the procession for fallen officer James Skirnovitz left Middleburg Heights headed for downtown Cleveland, it was clear even amid coronavirus, the community wanted to show their support along the way. Bob Vatruba was one of them.
How could I not come down here?
The sign he holds sends a simple yet powerful message. Thank you, heroes. Referencing not just the Skirnovitz family, but all officers who put their lives on the line each day.
Someone seeing a sign, it can make all the difference in the world to a person who might be having a hard time.
Today indeed is difficult for loved ones and comrades, as laying a father, friend, and brother in blue to rest is never easy. But having complete strangers in the community by your side can certainly help ease the pain.
We have extended coverage of the funeral services today at WKYC.com and on our app. There you can also follow our reporting on the search for answers and justice in the criminal case surrounding the killing of Detective Skirnovitz.
God bless America, land that I love.
From the tolling of the bell in New York City for the almost 3,000 who died on this day 19 years ago, to the singing of God Bless America on the stairs of the Capitol building, a difficult day for much of the nation, remembering the events of September 11th, 2001, and honoring the lives lost that day. At sunrise, the American flag was unfurled at the Pentagon. And in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, both President Donald Trump and presidential candidate Joe Biden visited the site where Flight 93 crashed after passengers fought back against hijackers on that airplane. Later this hour, we're going to talk to Russ Mitchell about what it was like covering the events of 9/11 as a CBS correspondent and anchor in New York City.
We turn now to your feed at 5. Ohio's coronavirus cases continue to rise today. 1,240 new cases were reported, which is again over the 21-day average of 1,061. We were below average earlier in the week.
Betsy, that increase of 119 new cases from yesterday to today is best explained by looking at the number of tests performed. Yesterday, there were just over 19,000 tests reported, while today's number was more than 28,000. That's a jump of 9,000 tests. It's also the third most tests performed on one day. So the fact that the increase daily in new cases was only 119 was somewhat of a surprise. It's also why we saw a big dip in the positivity rate, which is down almost a full percentage point day over day to 3.6%. Hospitalizations also down sharply. There are 37 fewer patients statewide today than yesterday, but the death total jumped 19 from yesterday's 30 to today's 49.
We need to hunker down and get through this fall and winter because it's not going to be easy.
That's a pretty stark warning from the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci. This is Johns Hopkins University reports that an American dies of coronavirus every 2 minutes. And an American is diagnosed with COVID-19 every 2.5 seconds. Fauci's comments come amid indications that the American public is losing faith in public health agencies trying to fight coronavirus. Fauci, for his part, says don't underestimate this virus.
One of the things is when you're experiencing an outbreak, don't ever underestimate the potential of the pandemic.
The report on declining public confidence comes from a Kaiser Family Foundation poll that has two big takeaways. 62% of Americans are worried the president's political pressure will lead the FDA to rush a vaccine before it's proven safe and effective. And public confidence in the CDC has dropped 16% since just April. It's just a little bit of what's happening today. A lot of going on in the news, and Russ Mitchell joins us now from the big desk with more on what's been happening today. Hi, Russ.
Hey, Betsy. Hey, Jay. Good afternoon, everyone. Akron police have now charged two men in that shooting that left a 6-year-old girl in critical condition. 23-year-old Mark-Gail Clinkscales and 39-year-old Corey Jemison now face several charges after police say the men started shooting at each other during an argument. Investigators say Clinkscales hit a car with 6 inside, injuring the girl and a second child who had a graze wound. Microsoft is warning that several foreign countries are trying to interfere with American elections. The tech giant says the cyber attacks are coming from Russia, China, and Iran, and are targeting both Democratic and Republican voters, along with U.S. think tanks. Russia and China deny those allegations. And tonight's high school football game between Kent Roosevelt and Marlington is canceled after a Kent player tested positive for COVID-19. The school says it is working with the Portage County Health Department on contact tracing to see who was exposed. And again, these kids, many of them seniors, their final year in high school, not getting to play, but it all makes sense.
You have to do what you have to do, and this certainly is a move, Russ, that had to be made. Thank you, Russ. We'll see you at the top of the hour with what matters most. We really didn't know how fans would react to the various signs of unity and demonstrations for social change at last night's Chiefs-Texans game to kick off the new NFL season. But as players and coaches from both teams stood arm in arm, we got a little taste. Listen. Undeniable boos from the fans, that coming after players showed a sign of unity After the game, players expressed surprise that they were booed for their show of unity. Betsy, the other storylines from last night's big game was obviously the fact that we played the national anthem as per usual. Also last night was the playing of the Black national anthem, the so-called Black national anthem. It's a song called Lift Every Voice and Sing. The Texans talked it over as a team. They made the decision to stay in the locker room for both. Also, the Miami Dolphins releasing this video on social media explaining how they will handle this, as both songs will be performed before all opening games this weekend.
This attempt to unify only creates more divide.
So we'll skip this song and dance.
And as a team, we'll stay inside.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the other venues receive the players at the beginning of the game. Interesting that the Texans decided they would stay in the locker room. The Chiefs were on the field for both. All of the players for the Chiefs stood with one exception, who took a knee and raised a fist. It's really hard to assign motivation, Betsy, as to why the fans were booing. Those that were asked about it after the game said that they really didn't believe that this was the way to start a new season. They thought that some of what was happening on the field was divisive. America spoke in the terms of ratings. I said yesterday, Betsy, and I'm still surprised by this, I expected there would be a huge national rating. Right. Didn't happen. The rating was down over 16%, which was a surprise to many. And again, it's tough to assign motivation as to why America chose to watch at a clip that was 16% less than what they watched last year's opener. But a lot of the messaging that is going on from the players hasn't been universally received by all. And there is some concern in the NFL that we could have a fractured audience again this year. We saw that a couple of years ago with Colin Kaepernick's demonstration.
I'm not quite sure how to digest the idea of just going in the locker room and not coming out. I think that's disrespectful to the country, my personal opinion, just not being on the field. But I don't exactly know how to address that otherwise. That's obviously a team decision. I respect the team's decision. Yeah. Well, it's not individuals, but I don't know if going to the locker room is the way to handle it.
Yeah, they're not going to be alone. Obviously, the Miami Dolphins have already come out and said that they, too, will stay in the locker room. Some of what we didn't hear in the Miami Dolphins social media message, there was one player who said, I want to stand to respect my relatives that fought and died for our country, but I also feel that I should take a knee as a way to use my voice to advance causes for social change. So because there's this push-pull, the teams, the Texans and the Dolphins, and I imagine there will be others, decided to avoid all of the controversy, which the Dolphins said is divisive. They will stay together as a team in their locker room.
Maybe that's the messaging that kind of explains the situation.
Perhaps, yeah.
All right, well, we'll have to see what happens as football continues.
Interesting times, no doubt. Ahead on What's New, a way to bring a little cheer to your yard next coming up. We're going to talk about the best way to plant mums and how to make your mulch beds look autumn-like.
You can tell me how to make them last a long time. That would be even better. Well, later on, the big surprise to Ohio State students found when they checked their spring calendar today. And Matt Standridge making his debut today as our Friday 5 p.m. meteorologist. Matt, what's the latest?
Hey, Betsy, we finally got some of that sunshine. We should start tomorrow with a lot of sun, but then more rain is in the forecast. Details are coming up.
All right, astronomically speaking, it's not quite fall, technically. Meteorologically speaking, we're kind of getting in the window here, but now is the perfect time to add fall color to your landscape or your front porch.
Yeah, it certainly is. My buddy Noel Aiken from Petiti Garden Centers showed me how to pick out mums, the perfect mums that not only look beautiful today, but will also give you that beautiful color lasting well into the fall.
Ooh.
Tell us what we have and how we're going to do this.
Sure. Well, of course, the classic is always going to be the classic fall mum.
Right.
And we want to get those planted in the ground as soon as possible because it takes about 4 to 8 weeks for the root system to establish. So if you can plant them in August, if you can plant them in early September, that's the prime time.
Around Labor Day.
Yes, around Labor Day, just to get them established, get those roots in the ground solid.
Okay.
So that's perfect. And then just in front of it, this is actually a ground cover. It's called leadwort, believe it or not. But it is one of the few perennial ground covers that has that electric blue flower to it. There's
beautiful.
Very, very few out there. And when it's done blooming, the foliage turns red. So it really is a beautiful ground cover for kind of later season color. Then this one right here, Jay, is sedum. It's upright stonecrop or sedum. This particular variety is called Class Act. Class Act just stands tall, about 12 inches, nice big pink flowers. It's just developing right now. And it's a great, great plant to not only attract the pollinators out here, but it's just great fall color. They always color up really nicely at this time of year. And of course your grasses, you've got a beautiful pennisetum grass here. This one is little bunny, so it's just a little short dwarf, if you will. But the grasses are always great complements to your fall mums and also your late color perennials too. So we've got a few other mums over here, and they're just at a different stage. So when I have customers come to the store, I'll usually say, hey, it depends when you want the mums to fill out for you. If you need instant color for a party or what have you, go ahead, find them when they're about 50% budded, 50% open. If you want color a little bit later, try to find them when they're just starting to show color, but they're tightly budded, and those are going to last probably a good 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow, so that's a nice mix. We'll have some right now.
Yes.
And these will bloom, and
Yes.
we'll have them into October and even perhaps November.
Yes.
Okay, and my question, I don't know where to put anything.
Okay.
Is there a right or wrong? Is it just to what pleases your eye? How do you figure out what goes where?
Yeah, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. What we try to do is, with heights, obviously, we're looking at some taller things in the back, some shorters in the front, of course. Color scheme can really be anything you like, and if you enjoy the fall colors, there's a lot to choose from. So, plant in swaths of color. We'll usually try to plant, some big showy color together and go from there.
All right, let's dig some holes and see what we got.
All right.
So at the end of the fall, what do I do with these? Do I cut them down? Do I let them die out? How does it work?
I like first year, so when you planted the perennials, just planted them this growing season, let them die back naturally. That gives them a little bit more time to establish the root base, solidify themselves in the holes, and then next spring, you're gonna cut back when you start to see new growth form from the base. And because they're perennials, you're really cutting them down, as low as you can grow to that new growth that's pushing out.
Okay, very good. And most of this stuff will come back next fall.
Yeah, we're gonna keep our fingers crossed,
All right, very good. Noelle, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy planting. That's up to the weather, I guess, isn't it, Bets?
Not too many weeds in that garden, Jay. I'm kind of impressed, actually.
Bets, I tell you, when I say yard work is my hobby, it's almost my job. I love it.
Your other job, right?
Exactly.
Certainly. Well, hey, Matt Standers joins our team, of course, this week. We're so thrilled. Matt will be joining us every Friday at 5 and 7 p.m. He's also going to be in on the weekend evening on Saturday nights at 6 and 11. So, Matt, this time of the year, you're coming into Cleveland at a great time. It's comfortable. It's beautiful. And now we get to plant mums. There you go.
That's right. I heard this weather kind of lasts all year, right?
Yeah.
Sure does.
That's what they keep telling me. But when you're talking about planting mums, or maybe you got that fall garden you're trying to plant, maybe think about this weekend. Well, we're just trying to pinpoint when we can. Right now, we've got some clear skies. Eventually, right? We had the clouds this morning, but that northeast wind has picked up and is finally giving us a little bit of sunshine. In fact, I took this picture just a couple minutes ago. You can see you're looking towards the north. You're looking towards Brown Stadium, you have the Great Lakes Science Center, but blue sky over the lake. Now, when you kind of look towards the left-hand side of your screen, looking west, you still have some of those high clouds. We'll continue to work on them as we head throughout the rest of the evening hours. So kind of what we're watching as we press over the next several hours is that lots of sunshine expected this evening. And I think a lot of sunshine as you're waking up this weekend too. So tomorrow morning, if you want to plant some of those mums or other fall garden plants, we can plant lettuce and radishes and spinach. I looked up this time of year in Northeast Ohio, but that won't last long. That window of good planting weather, just get outside weather, will start to change tomorrow afternoon. A south wind's going to pick up and we'll have chances for isolated showers and thunderstorms, especially going into Saturday night and maybe even early Sunday morning too. But there's that northeast wind. You see it blowing right over the lake, keeping us on the cool side along the lakeshore. We're in the 60s in downtown and Ashtabula. We're in some low 70s in eastern Ohio, closer to Youngstown and Canton and Akron this afternoon. But we're watching those clouds continue to drift towards the south and west. So we've gotten the sunshine. We're getting a little bit warmer. We're still thick in those clouds, and Richland and Ashland County is still kind of cloudy right now, but we'll continue to push those out. The big weather story, though, this weekend will be a warm front. I know it's cool out there right now. At least we have some sun, right? But we're going to return towards the 80s tomorrow afternoon as this warm front lifts on through. Also, quick side note, the Indians away this evening, first pitch, 8:10, playing the Twins. Got some showers out there. We'll continue to watch that forecast for you guys, though. But here at home, it's looking very nice this evening. Your patio forecast, all green checks. No matter what you want to do this evening, the weather looks pretty nice. Just maybe have a jacket. It's kind of on the cool side. So football Friday night, or whether you're just going on to date night, you'll want that jacket. It's a little bit cool. Here's your hour-by-hour forecast brought to you by the National Design Mart. Clouds will continue to break up this evening. We should finally see some stars later tonight as those clouds push on out, but showers and thunderstorms return towards the weekend, especially Saturday, tomorrow afternoon. There could be a few pop-ups here and there, and then maybe some heavier rain as you head into early Sunday morning. Any kind of severe chances look pretty much further towards the west, so that's some good news. We could get maybe some rumbles of thunder, though, especially Saturday evening into the overnight hours early on Sunday. So once again, Jay, Betsy, trying to plant those mums, maybe tomorrow morning. If you don't get a chance to, next week is looking really, really nice.
It definitely is in that Universal Windows Direct forecast. Temperature's going to be kind of pleasant next week. All right, Matt, thank you so much. Great job, buddy. One more to go. It's all good. Well, coming up, everybody, spring break is off. Why Ohio's largest university is already pulling the plug. Plus, what the CDC is saying about restaurants, bars, and COVID-19. That's next, Clicking in Cleveland.
It is time right now to see what's clicking in Cleveland. Betsy doing the honors to close out the week. Betsy, what are we interested in today?
Well, first up, some really interesting findings about the people who contract coronavirus. Now, the CDC has, of course, been tracking stats relating to COVID and risk. They found people who have tested positive for COVID-19 are twice as likely to have eaten at a restaurant or bar in the 2 weeks beforehand. Now, that's not necessarily that restaurants are unsafe, but highlights a risk for greater exposure. Ohio State is pumping the brakes on spring break. This is COVID related, of course. The university released its spring semester calendar, and notably absent is spring break. Instead, there will be 2 instructional breaks in early February and late March where classes will not be held. The university says this is aimed at reducing potential travel-related exposure from a more traditional spring break. So they want to keep all the Buckeyes close to the tree, if you will, not let them go wandering around and potentially get more people sick.
Hate to say this because the college students out there will be very upset, but I think it's a great idea, Bets.
Maybe it's just a long weekend instead of a full-on spring break.
Yeah, probably not a good idea to send them all down to Florida like we did last year. Okay, coming up at 5, as we commemorate September 11th, Russ Mitchell is going to join us. He's going to share his remembrances of that day. Remember, he was on the ground reporting for CBS News on that fateful day. Then later, we're going to shift the mood to what, Betsy? I have a feeling this was your read and I just jumped.
The Voice. You didn't actually. My name wasn't on it, so I wasn't saying it. But anywho, it's The Voice. We love The Voice. Certainly, it is coming back. So excited about that. And it's coming back bigger and better than ever.
Yes, it is. We are excited about that. Also, easy tricks to make your wardrobe look as cool as the trendsetters. Really?
Well, we'll see.
Okay, I'll pay very close attention.
Have your rubber bands handy.
Thank you. All right, Chris Coons, 3, 2, and 1. Coming up in sports, we are counting down the hours, the minutes, the seconds until the Browns season opener in Baltimore, and we know who's going to be calling the plays finally. Plus, it's week 3 of the high school football season. We'll have much more coming up for you in just a bit. Let me do that again. I got IFB in my ear, so okay, sorry. Okay, here we go. Take 2. Take 2 on the tees. 3, 2, and 1. Coming up in sports, we are counting down the hours, the minutes, the seconds until the Browns season opener in Baltimore against the Ravens, and we finally know who's going to be calling the plays. Plus, it's week 3 of the high school football season. We'll have plenty more coming up for you in just a bit.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
Thanks so much for staying with us on What's New here at 5:30. I'm Betsy Kling.
And I'm Jay Crawford. A busy day of news and a difficult day of news at that. We start with our top story, the funeral of Cleveland Police Detective James Skirnovitz. Family, friends, and his brothers in blue said goodbye today to the man who wrote on his police application years ago he wanted to help make the city a safer place. Skirnovitz was killed doing just that last week when he was shot during an undercover drug operation. During his funeral at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, Police Chief Calvin Williams called Skirnovitz a policeman's policeman.
What he did out there for our city was to try to lift not individuals, not neighborhoods, not groups, but an entire city to a higher, more noble life. Badge number 2249 will always live in the hearts and minds of the people in this city and his brothers and sisters in the Division of Police.
United States Attorney General William Barr also honored Skirnovitz, who just recently was sworn in to a federal task force operating in Cleveland. And we continue our remembrance of September 11th, 19 years after the attacks on American soil. It was a day nobody who was around will soon forget.
And that includes our own Russ Mitchell, who covered the events as they unfolded in New York City when he was with CBS. And Russ joins us now. Russ, it seems like no matter how long it passes, how many years pass by, it still feels very fresh.
It really does. I think when I wake up on any September 11th, I think, what was I doing at this moment, so many years ago? And I remember that day I was walking to the CBS Broadcast Center at 8:47, which was 1 minute after the first plane hit. And by the time it took me, 2 minutes to get from the front door to the newsroom, it was clear that this was going to be a day like no other. And of course, 9:02, the second plane hit, and it was just, chaos from there. A scary time, certainly, as you said, a time I'll never forget. I want to show you a clip now of a story that was done on September 13th, and it kind of shows the desperation people had to find out if their loved ones were okay, their loved ones who worked in the World Trade Center, but these people had no idea if those people were okay.
It's been a very busy day here at the Manhattan Armory behind me. The mission here is for folks who have relatives who work at the World Trade Center who they haven't spoken to or seen since the disaster of 2 days ago to come here and file a missing persons report. Police want to match some of the names with some faces of folks who are being treated perhaps in area hospitals but who have yet to be identified. For many who came here today, it was yet another unreal, frustrating day. They began lining up early, armed with pictures, medical records, and lots of hope.
We're not going to give up. You know she's on the list, so
I see somebody that looks like her.
We're keeping our faith. And Jennifer loves you. We're all waiting for you.
After standing in line for hours, they were interviewed in private by New York police detectives and counselors. Many left photos of their loved ones on telephone poles and mailboxes, hoping someone would see them and call.
Last night I couldn't sleep. I had to go break in his apartment and get the phone number, call all his family from here to Africa, and everybody been calling me all night last night.
If anyone has any idea if they've seen him or knows where he is, to call us. He's got two little babies.
Yeah, the Armory in New York was called the saddest place in New York City for a while, and that went on for weeks. And it is something, Jay and Betsy, as the weeks and months went by, it didn't hit me really until about, I guess about a month after 9/11. We'd all been working very hard, and I was sitting in a restaurant, by myself having dinner, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Everything I had seen in that, previous month. And, again, it is something that I'll never forget. It's something I think about in some way or another every day of my life.
Russ, as you think back to those days and even weeks, is there a snapshot image that either sums up the entire time for you, or perhaps an image that you just can't get out of your mind?
Yeah, I guess there are two. It's one woman who you did not see in that story, who comes later in the story, came up to me and with pictures of, I believe it was her brother. And she said she hadn't seen her brother in years. They had had problems. They didn't get along, but they were just starting to mend their relationship. And she wanted to make sure he was okay, because she wanted to know that him to know that he was okay. And the second one, actually, I mean, in a weird sort of way, is kind of funny. About 3 months after 9/11, I'm driving down the street, and I think I cut a truck driver off, and he put his hand up and gave me a signal that didn't say hello, if you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
that one finger thing. And I thought, We're back. New York City is back. Everything is okay after 2 months of being Mayberry. But New York City is incredibly resilient, as we saw then, and it's resilient now, and it'll come back at some point as well.
Well, Russ, I remember that particular story. I remember that story that you did and watching it back then. And it's certainly one of those situations in history where everybody knows exactly where they were at the exact moment that they found out. And it's been really interesting today on social media because that's the message that people are putting out. And that's the whole thing. Never forget.
Yeah.
Always remember this day and the heroes.
You're right. And you're exactly right. No matter where you were in New York, you were in Cleveland, you were in whatever, everybody knows where they were the moment they found out.
It's incredible. I'm not sure in my lifetime there was ever a day, a moment, a time when we felt more like one, and it came at the expense of so many and after an attack on American soil. And you juxtapose that with where we are 19 years ago. I wish so many could think back to that time of unity and that good feeling that we got, that we banded together and overcame. I don't know how we do that again. My hope certainly is that we can end this division and come together as one.
Yeah, I agree.
Russ, thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Time now for Show Us Something Good. And today is about fighting back and winning. And I want you to meet Lena Mae Shaw. You talk about a fighter, Betsy, and you talk about a winner. There she is. She's from North Carolina. She is 100 years young. And now she can add coronavirus survivor to her list of life accomplishments.
Wow.
Shaw spent more than 4 days in the hospital battling COVID-19. She says she looked to her faith to give her the strength to pull through it. Her loved ones say she is back and she is just as feisty as ever before. In fact, she's living, Betsy, in the same house that she's called home since the 1930s. And she's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Her recovery probably saw quite an uptick once she got home, too. That's a big part of it. Your own surroundings kind of just start to feel better. And boy, what a life she's led. I mean, you think about all of the innovation that she has seen throughout her life and all the incredible advancements in technology, but then the medical technologies and the medicines that help us all pull through this stuff. It's really quite remarkable.
Yep, and we are thrilled that she made it through. Keep fighting.
Yes.
Keep fighting.
Absolutely. Oh, man, I love those stories. All right, we've got some more good news to tell you about, too, coming up. The Voice is back. Learn more about the socially distanced new season ahead in Pop Break.
And hey there, Matt, what's going on outside?
Hey Jay, feels cool out there, but at least we have some sunshine, right? But more rain is in the forecast this weekend. Details coming up.
Well, as I peek out through the newsroom into the windows of the 3 News Digital Broadcast Center, I see sunshine streaming through those windows. We are finally getting a taste of some sun back in the forecast. Matt Standridge joining us, our newest team member here in the 3 News weather team. And Matt, I'm going to say this is all your fault. So congratulations and thank you for bringing us the sunshine.
Anytime. Literally anytime, except if it's January, February, March, maybe not so much.
Right. Hey, Matt, I have a question for you real quick.
Yes.
Do you have your microphone nearby by chance? You got to. Did
it fall off?
It must have fallen off.
Live TV.
Look at this. There he is.
You got to love live TV, right?
Yay!
Hey, Matt, don't worry.
You didn't hear a word I said. Not a word.
I did. You said Betsy is the best chief meteorologist ever, and I do appreciate that.
That's exactly right.
I thought so. Yeah.
Matt, it's okay. It happens to everybody.
Anytime, Betsy.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. All right. Tell us we're getting more of this sunshine.
I hope so. I hope so for quite some time. But it's going to be here for this evening and probably tomorrow morning, and then more rain is coming in this forecast. But soak it in this evening, whether you have football Friday night, maybe just going out for some date plans this evening. It's looking really nice. Here's what we're watching over the next several hours. It's sunny now, but it's kind of on the cool side. That northeast wind kind of gets you. A lot of us are in the 60s right now. As we head in towards the weekend, though, it's going to be a lot warmer. South wind's coming back, but there could be a few isolated storms as we head into our Saturday evening and even into the overnight hours early Sunday morning. Right now, you see those northeast winds blowing across the lake. That's one reason why we're getting that sun. We had a north wind yesterday coming off that moisture from Lake Erie giving us those clouds, but now those northeast winds are carrying the clouds more towards western Ohio. We're stuck in the 60s and 70s, although not too bad out there. You're watching the clouds slowly drift from the northeast towards the southwest. We're going to get clearer and clearer as we head into the evening hours. There's that warm front. It's going to be here tomorrow, and it's going to warm us up into the 80s. It's also going to kind of turn humid once again, but this evening, beautiful. Your patio forecast will be mostly in the 60s, lots of green check marks. No matter what you have this evening, the weather is going to be pretty nice. Just maybe bring a jacket. It's kind of on the cool side. So tomorrow's forecast, big difference. There could be a few isolated showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon with that south wind coming on in. I want to show you the National Design hour-by-hour forecast. You can see the clouds kind of building back and those wind shifts throughout the afternoon, and then you get those pop-up showers, maybe a quick rumble of thunder here or there. We'll be on the lookout for that, but the best timing for rain will be Saturday evening into the overnight hours as we're waking up on Sunday, but I think by Sunday afternoon we'll start to clear out once again, and nice weather stretching into next week. And just talking about kind of a severe potential of these storms, looks really, really low. There could be some stronger storms towards the west, so we may just get some rain and thunder here and there. It's not going to be a washout this weekend, but we are going to be warm for our Saturday, especially in the morning. Get out, enjoy it. Lots of sunshine tomorrow morning. By the afternoon, we'll be dodging some of those showers, maybe a quick rumble of thunder. And then next week, once we clear out, some really nice weather in the forecast. Betsy, the humidity's looking a little bit lower, so if you aren't able to squeeze in the mums, I don't think you and Jay are planning mums this weekend. You can't do it this weekend. Maybe next week will be a pretty good forecast for you.
No doubt whatsoever. We'll have another look at that Universal Windows Direct forecast coming up tonight at 11. I'm putting you on notice that you get to do the 11 o'clock weather tonight. And by the way, if I had $1 for every time I had to remind Jay to put a microphone on, I'd be buying lots of pumpkin spice lattes.
Mine's always on. It's just turned off.
That's what I'm saying. Same difference. Good job, Matt. Thank you.
Okay, Matt. It happens to everyone. You know what that music means. We're all about to get smarter when it comes to the world of entertainment. What's going on? Kiara Cotton is here with today's Pop Break.
Sidney Prescott is returning to Woodsboro. Horror movie queen Neve Campbell has officially signed on for the 5th screen film alongside co-stars Courtney Cox and David Arquette. The movie will also introduce several new characters played by The Boys actor Jack Quaid, Dylan Minnette from 13 Reasons Why, and You actor Jenna Ortega. The film will make its way to theaters in January of 2022.
Yes, only for Dolly do you sing A Christmas Carol in your kitchen in the middle of July.
Miley Cyrus stopped by The Tonight Show last night to talk about her new album, Midnight Sky, and conversations quickly turned to Dolly Parton's new Christmas album, on which Jimmy and Miley will both be featured. Miley told The Tonight Show host that she originally had asked Dolly for an extension, but because the singer is printing actual CDs, she had to do it during the summer.
But only for Dolly, Christmas comes.
And The Voice is back and better than ever. The hit singing show returns on October 9th, and the judges' claws are already coming out.
Blake and I have been quarantining together this entire time,
Wow, I'm sorry, Gwen.
The show has also adapted to COVID-19, spreading out the red chairs and letting the judges celebrate the new members on their teams in a, well, unconventional way.
I got a present for you, but because we're social distancing, I'm going to launch it at you. You ready?
Can't wait to see how this all goes down starting October 9th.
I think she needs a new T-shirt gun.
Right?
It sort of misfired there. Folks love the chemistry of the judging panel.
Yes.
And when you watch it, you can't help but smile and feel good with these guys because they have so much fun together.
It is, and you know, I like the idea that they bring the people out to sing and the judges don't see them.
Right,
I think that
do
is
too.
such a beautiful part of that show. But then once they start to turn around, then they start going at each other and just shenanigans. That's the best word to explain it.
Yeah.
It's straight shenanigans.
Just a great concept of a show, and it's hugely popular, and it's going to be back and better than ever right here on Channel 3.
Yes, it is. And for us, coming up right here on Channel 3, it's Fashion Friday. The rubber band. Yes, the lowly rubber band will bring you great fashion. We have a hack to get you stepping out in style.
Is that all I've needed all this time?
Well, a few other things for you, but a rubber band would help.
My idea of a fashion is a baseball hat. And worth the watch. You've got to see this. What happens when this baby goat is reunited with its family? You'll want to stick around.
I love that. All right, try this pop quiz question on for size. Which of the following inventions was patented first? The rubber band, the cash register, or chewing gum? While you chew on that, we'll take a quick break and bring you the answer on the other side. I didn't even peek at the answer, so I haven't seen it yet. And the answer to the pop quiz question is, which of the following inventions was first patented? It was the rubber band. How about that? Stephen Perry invented and patented the rubber band in 1845.
Steve Perry, like Journey Steve Perry?
I don't know. Maybe it was to hold his hair back. You never know, right? Created as a way to hold papers or envelopes together or hair. The cash register wasn't patented until 1879 and chewing gum in 1869.
All right.
Now you know.
Well, that's a nice little segue into our Fashion Friday, isn't it?
It is,
Did you
actually.
plan that?
I didn't, but boy, some really talented producers did. That Vince Fradiani, he's amazing, I tell you what.
He's sharp.
All right, it's Fashion Friday, as you may have heard before. And if you follow any fashion influencers on social media, their outfits always look perfect. Then you try to replicate it, that little knotted tee or the cute jacket. It never looks the same. That is fact. So, the wardrobe consultant, Hallie Abrams, is sharing a few of her stylist tricks to make us all look like the pros, and they all involve a rubber band.
The first one has to do with your sleeves of your jacket. This also works for a shirt, by the way. You know how sometimes your sleeves are just too long, you haven't been able to get them tailored, it doesn't look quite as polished when you roll it up. So, you can use a handy dandy little rubber band. And here is the trick. Take the rubber band, put it on the outside of the jacket, and pull it up to just under your elbow crease. Then you pull the jacket up as if you're sort of zhuzhing the sleeve, but you leave this part over so it hides the rubber band. That way your sleeve stays perfectly zhuzhed the rest of the day. The one tip I would say is do not use a brand new rubber band. Use one that's sort of been stretched out a little bit so you don't cut off circulation. The second tip is that a lot of people are doing tying of t-shirts these days, but a lot of times it's hard to sort of make the whole knot. So you can use a rubber band for that as well, and very often it gives a smoother appearance. So you can just tie it like you would a regular ponytail and then flip it under. So there, then it's totally smooth. A third way is to do this in the back, and that's at a time I like to do it often when I'm wearing it over a skirt or a dress. You can tie it in the back here and do that same thing. Just tuck it under, and then it gives a more form-fitting appearance from the front without having the bulk of a big knot in the back. One other way that you can use a rubber band as a styling hack is if your necklace is not hitting it quite the place you want it to, but there aren't extra loops. So let's say that I wanted this necklace to sort of hit as more of a choker. And this works better for women that have longer hair or if you're gonna wear a jacket over it. But you can take the rubber band and use it on the chain. And then it becomes like a choker. And if you don't have long hair and you put a jacket over it, it will then hide where the back of that necklace is with the rubber band and still gives you the proper length in the front.
Zhuzhing. That is the word of the day. We're going to zhuzh, to fancify, right? Jay was like, what is zhuzhing? He had no clue.
Never heard of zhuzhing.
No. We'll make sure you're zhuzhed.
I like the rubber band use, though. I can't use it on many of the examples she gave, but...
We do lots of TV hacks. We use binder clips in the back and all that kind of stuff. You don't see it on camera normally. I don't get to do all that. But anywho, we're going to put all of these style tips, all the zhuzhing tips at WKYC.com. You can also find Hallie on Instagram at The Wardrobe Consultant.
Well, don't go anywhere because reunited is the word of the day when it comes to our Worth the Watch. This is so doggone cute. It's a great way to send you into your weekend, and we've got it for you next. All right, let's wrap it up with our Worth the Watch. This is so adorable. A family found a baby goat in a pit near their home. So what do? Well, they take it in overnight and they set out to find its family the next morning. And then this happened. Watch, Bets.
I love this. Look at that tiny little thing.
She sees her real family and off she goes.
Oh my goodness. You could just hear her bleeding, like just so frantically.
I love it.
Friend.
I love the moment when she realizes, this isn't my family behind me. This is my family in front of me.
Right? Have you ever like gotten a little bit separated from your kid at the park or anything? And you can see them, but when they can't see you, it's that moment. You can literally see the terror in their eyes. Can you tell I've had experience with this? Poor little Violet, her eyes are like, and then she sees me and she's like, Mom, I'm so happy to see you.
We're out of time. We are back on Monday. We hope to see you then.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us, everybody.